Good morning, the Dawn Chorus, episode 6. The journey continues. Today we have a very special guest, Azubike Onwuka. But first, we will listen to a jazz ensemble from the Soviet era with Oleg Kuchensko, and the song is called Devotion. Enjoy! morning. Wow, beautiful, soothing melodies from the Soviet era. Okay, we have a special guest this morning, Azubike Onwuka. I just mispronounced his name, but now I do it correctly. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Thank
I'm
you
doing
for
fine,
being
thank
here,
you.
man.
How are you?
I'm doing great, more than great. It's a perfect day for me. Beautiful weather, beautiful music. What else do we want? So tell us, what will you play for us?
A bunch of things. I've prepared some classical pieces and some of my own compositions. And the piece I would like to start with is written by Eugène Isaïe. And it was written for cello.
Mm-hmm.
And I transposed it and reworked it for the bass.
Amazing. And what's the story about Eugène?
Eugène, he actually I don't know that much about him, but I can tell a couple funny anecdotes. He was from, first of all, that's not an anecdote, it's just a fact. He's from Belgium, and apparently there's this story in his family how the violin got into his family, and I believe it's something that some semi-mythical creature once passed or came across one of his ancestors, and this ancestor was already playing a violin-like instrument, but one with frets, and kind of said to him like, "Hey man, do you know about this new instrument? I believe it was the violin," and convinced him to switch to this new instrument, which created these amazing sounds, and that's how that instrument got into the family.
Amazing.
I mean, I might be getting some details wrong from the story, but this is what I've heard or read.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm curious. And what's the piece you will play for me?
The piece is it's the first part of the cello sonata by Eugène Isaïe, written in C minor originally, but I transposed it to F minor.
Mm-hmm. Is that more suitable for a bass guitar?
Yes, in this case, because if I would play it in either the original key, I wouldn't have enough notes on my instrument, or if I would have to transpose an octave down, so it's still in C minor, it would be way too low and just a bit
Swampy.
Yeah. So and actually, I believe this is pretty much the only key. No, I mean I could play it in a couple of other keys, but this one works out best. I mean it's quite low because it's lower than the original, but I do feel like it suits the character of the piece. Like there's some parts which are kind of dramatic and in French they would say grave, like really sort of ernstig in Dutch we would say, serious, tough. Also tough to play or to practice, but
it's heavy.
Yeah, some parts, but it's I like it also because it's very different from the pieces I play normally. Because normally I focus more on Baroque, like pieces by Bach.
Mm-hmm.
And although you can still, in a way, see some similarities, maybe because both were written for a instrument from the violin family, like a cello or a violin. But it's a very different type of language from a different period, a different kind of feel. So you have to interpret it in a different way. Although I'm not doing it a super traditional interpretation, of course, because I mean I wouldn't be sitting here with a bass guitar if I would be on that road. But yeah,
amazing. I'm curious. Let's listen to the piece. Wow, amazing. Thank you for playing this so far. Um, yeah,
You're welcome.
it has some heavy parts, I can admit, but it's also very beautiful. The way it keeps continuing and keeps going, and it's quite fast. I didn't expect it to be this fast. It's very beautiful.
No, thanks. Thanks.
What do you have for us as more anymore?
Yeah, I have another piece by Johann Sebastian Bach, which
Mhm.
is the Chromatic Fantasy, and it's actually part of a, let's say, of two compositions. It was quite common um, in the time of Bach, but a lot of keyboard works, especially, they constitute of two or more parts,
Mhm.
and one would usually be a like a either a prelude or toccata or some kind of preparation, you could say. And after that, you would have usually a fugue, which is a slightly more strict composition, which needs to comply with more strict and formal rules.
Yeah.
And often the first part is, people can describe it sometimes like it's closer to an improvisation, or it's a piece for the performer to warm up or to show off their skills. And then the later part is more of more of a set or a structured composition. This one in particular, chromatic fantasy, or chromatische fantasie in German, and Dutch, by the way, is actually, of all the pieces that I know of Bach, it's the one that's, in my opinion, is closest or sounds closest to an improvisation.
Mhm.
It's very spontaneous. It has because much of the music by Bach often has this very deep underlying structure or a sense of that it's all perfectly measured and everything. But this one is sounds a lot wilder,
Yeah.
in my opinion, which gives it a very almost futuristic sound. Sometimes, I mean, there are moments when you think, is this music from the 18th century, or is it? It could sound like it's from the 19th or maybe even 20th, because it has at some points very modern kind of feel to it.
Impressionistic almost.
Yeah, kind
Okay.
of. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I mean, of course, the character also changes when you start playing it on a string instrument, like a bass instead of a keyboard. Although it was written for, well, clavier, so that could have been
Yeah.
a harpsichord, maybe an organ, but probably something like a harpsichord or a
Yeah.
clavichord. So that would also be a plucked string sound, but with the bass, it also gets a different kind of feel. It almost becomes like a lute kind of a sound, or guitar even.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you play it more staccato than you should, or? Do you
well, compared to a harpsichord, I don't know.
yeah, it's impossible to play as staccato as a harpsichord on the bass guitar, of course, but
I mean, there are some parts where I try to give it that kind of crisp and kind of a bite, let's say.
okay.
But I would say that on the bass, I would have a bit more choice in tone color. On the
Yeah.
harpsichord, it's a bit more static. I mean, you can change, but it's more like, okay, then you pull this register, and then suddenly, okay, you have two strings being plucked instead of
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
But the where on the string you're plucking, or how, it's a bit harder to, like, I can change that while I'm in the middle of a phrase or in a melody or within a chord. Even have some notes be plucked softer and others louder.
Yeah,
On a
that's hard on a
yeah.
harpsichord, right?
So I guess I can give it a bit more of a. I can play a bit more with the dynamics than you could on the harpsichord.
Cool.
But then it wasn't written for that instrument. But I believe that the music of Bach is written in such a way that it works well, even if you play it on like, you can even play it on synthesizer. You have
Yeah.
this thing, this switched on Bach by what was it, Wendy Carlos, I believe, who played all these pieces by Bach on the Moog synthesizer, and
Mhm.
even that can work out.
Mhm.
So
And there's like this discourse in the classical music that you should do it exactly the way Bach did it.
well,
What's your opinion about that?
well, yeah, yeah.
Or maybe we can
That's
talk about that later, of course,
it's
after you played it, of
yeah,
course.
yeah. No, we don't want to get any threats or whatever. No, 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 no. It's not that bad.
From the
But
Bach hooligans.
no, well, I mean, you have even a sort of world within that world, because of course you have the classical world, but then Bach actually belongs more to the early music world. So then you have there's also some tension between those in some sense, because it's very common nowadays to hear people play Bach on a piano.
Yeah. But there was no piano back then.
Exactly. I mean, well, the closest thing was a pianoforte, which really is not the same as a piano. If you ever hear one, it's not the same. And there's some sources suggesting that when Bach actually tried one of the forte pianos, or a couple of them, that he actually didn't really like them.
Yeah.
So, well, you could say, well, then the piano being a descendant from the forte piano would not have been an instrument Bach would have liked. Who knows? But at the same time, many of his compositions, the instruments aren't really specified. It just says clavier, which is any instrument with a keyboard. So from a technical point of view, that could be a harpsichord, could be an organ, could be a piano, could be a synthesizer, could be a Hammond organ, could be a Fender Rhodes. Technically, these are all clavier instruments. So, yeah, I mean, you can try. I mean, there's a lot of value in trying to figure out exactly how things were done back then, and these can create. I mean, like for example, when you go to the early music festival in Utrecht, Festival Oude Muziek, you can hear beautiful renditions of people who have really studied how to play the music like it was done back then. You know, with old instruments, with gut strings. You know, made from I think cat or sheep's gut.
Yeah.
You know, different tunings. But at the same time, that's not the only way you can interpret that music. And I also believe the music is very valuable just to study, but also to see, okay, but what else can you do with it? I think both the more sort of modernist and experimental approach are valid, as well as trying to really stick to the old version. I think both are very valuable.
It's a different game.
Yeah. I mean, with this instrument, kind of obviously, I'm not in the
classical game.
No. I mean, well, at least not in the early music game in some sense. But I mean, well, you could. I mean, there are technically classical pieces with the bass guitar. I once played in Apeldoorn a concert series with the Nederlands. No, sorry, the NJO, the Nederlands Jeugdorkest. And we played a piece by Louis Andriessen, which had mostly classical instruments, sort of kind of half of an orchestra, most of the winds, but also bass guitar and a drum kit. Well, yeah, I guess that would be considered sort of contemporary classical music. I mean, I forgot from which period it was, but yeah, so it's possible. There. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, I'm curious how your Bach interpretation sounds like.
Okay.
And let's listen to it.
No, my pleasure.
Wow. What
Oh,
else
thank
is
you.
there to say, right? Um, yeah, this was totally mesmerizing.
Thanks.
What a romantic piece it is.
Mm.
It goes
Yeah.
through such a journey, and then the ending is so almost like Debussy-ish
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
chorus. Very impressionistic.
Yeah. Yeah.
My English is
Yeah.
not amazing, but I don't. Is
Yeah,
that
but
impressionistic?
yeah,
How I
yeah,
would
yeah,
say
yeah, yeah. No, that's
it's amazing,
yeah.
man.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you for playing this. I'll play a quick song, also a rearrangement of a Bach piece,
Oh.
and then I would happily be inviting you to play a new song after that,
Yeah, sure.
new piece after that. Yeah, I'll play something quickly. Okay, short intermezzo, how they would say in classical music.
Well, yeah.
Well,
Well.
enlighten us a bit about the play you played,
Mm-hmm.
the piece you played from Bach. What's the story behind it? It's very technical. How do you get something so smoothly in your hands?
Well, there's a bit of a story behind it, indeed. Well, first of all, um, my first inspiration to play this piece was Jaco Pastorius. He played a part of this Fantasia. Let's say it has 5 pages. He did like the first page or something like that. He stopped at a certain point, that was something that he would sometimes do at performances.
You would just stop.
Well, it's quite a long piece, and I guess because he would go on to do other stuff. He as far as I know, he only played it live up to a certain point. And maybe also because after that you get some parts which are hard to do with only 4 strings, or in terms of range, it becomes almost impossible to play because it's written for a keyboard.
Yeah.
So most keyboards have a much wider range, even Baroque keyboards, than a 4-string bass guitar.
Yeah.
Now with 6 strings, that already helps a bit. But that was my first inspiration. But then I thought, okay, but I'm curious actually to play it beyond the point where Pastorius stopped. So that would be the entire Fantasia, not the fugue, but just the entire Fantasia. And once, this was in, I believe, 2022 or 23, I'm not sure. I locked myself up for 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
Yes, yeah, and in somewhere in Drenthe, in a little house, and I had no phone with me, no computer, just a bunch of sheet music, my bass, and a little amp. and no interaction with any human being. So that was a bit of a extremist approach, I would say. But
The only interaction was with Bach.
yeah, or well, with other music as well. But I was just practicing different kinds of music, but a lot of classical stuff. I was composing a bit as well, practicing some Indian things. But then I actually set out to try and learn this piece, and also to figure out how to translate it from a, let's say, a keyboard interpretation to, or let's say from a part, because it's written for keyboard for two hands. So there are certain chords or certain points where you have to figure out, how am I going to do this on a bass? Because on a keyboard, you can play a chord with two hands at the same time. Well, I also use two hands, but in a way, I also just have one hand to hold the chord. So one limitation is just the fact that I only have 6 strings, so I can only even play 6 notes at the same time. Practically, most of the times it's 5 or maybe 4, because there are only like
5
4 fingers that are available. So that was, I had to make some choices and figure out, okay, well, this is the original idea. How can I convey the same message within the possibilities of my instrument and my own abilities?
So how do you do that? Is it like, do you always keep the bass, for instance, to keep its character?
Well, that's a good point. Knowledge of harmony comes in very handy. So to know, if you see a certain chord written out, to know, okay, what is this chord? And what is its function? And where is it going? So then I can say, okay, well, this is the most important note, for example, the bass note from that chord. And let's say usually the top note, that would be the melody most of the times. And then to figure out, okay, maybe there's a couple of notes there which are, for example, doublings. So if there's a note like a D, for example, which happens multiple times within the chord, I can say, well, if I'm kind of short on strings or notes, then I can leave that one out because that pitch is already present within the chord. Sometimes even other notes I would have to leave out, but then I can pick ones which will still best convey the quality of the chord. So maybe if it's not exact, let's say if it's a chord written out which has 4 different notes, and I can, in that case, only play 3 different ones, then I can choose 3 notes which will still come closest to giving the impression of that full chord. Let's say.
So you don't have like this rule. Always, I keep always the 5th note, the bass, and 7th, for instance.
Mostly the bass will always be there, but even there are some points towards the end of the piece where I had to skip that, because then the bass plays like a constant note, but that, if I would leave that one out, then that would cause the rest of the chords to become a bit too unrecognizable. So there I left it out. Also because in terms of range, it would become a bit too muddy.
Okay.
So yeah, depending on the circumstance, on what's possible with the instrument, on what feeling I'm trying to convey with that passage, I would have to make certain compromises, let's say. Yeah.
Okay, and you said this piece is more like the... Okay, now we get very technical. I'm sorry, some
No,
listeners.
I don't mind, man.
I really like it.
Yeah.
I like to nerd about this.
Man, I'm all for it. Yeah.
You said this piece is a bit more like the improvisation one, and without the rules.
Yeah.
But still, I heard some classic rules. For instance, I think I heard the Picardy third.
Yes.
I heard the quintval sequence. I don't know what it is in English.
You
probably know.
Yeah, you could say it's just following a progression along the circle of fifths.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are quite classic rules, right? That Bach used a lot.
Yeah.
You still see those in his improvisation.
True.
Parts.
Yeah, these, especially the Picardy third, that's that you end a minor passage on a major chord.
Yeah.
These are like conventions which are, let's say, that's the one specifically is easy to improvise because that's just a matter of changing one note.
Yeah.
But for these progressions, chord progressions which go through a circle of fifths, for example, these in education it would be quite common to have to learn these and just have them at hand, to be able to improvise them. Bach, in fact, when we're talking about improvising, during his lifetime, he was actually known as more of an improviser than a composer. Yeah. And actually, one sort of thing that let's say, made him go viral, if we can use today's terminology, was that people would give him a certain melody or a theme, and he could improvise a fugue on top of this.
Cool.
Well, to write a fugue, just, to have all the time in the world is already very hard.
Yeah.
Now, to improvise that is, well, that's
wicked.
That's wicked, indeed, yeah. So even his improvisations can still have a lot of structure, but the difference I would say with this one and most of his other compositions is that it moves quite freely between different passages. It's like it stays in some color or some motive and then whoop, goes somewhere else. And with most other compositions, you will see that, okay, well, if there's a certain theme established, it will come back in some way. And here, that's not so clear. It's quite spontaneous in my impression.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Very cool. Okay, regarding the time, let's just go to the music.
How much time do we have left?
We have, to be exactly 18 minutes left.
Okay.
We can keep on talking for hours, but let's go to the most beautiful part about our life and this show, the music. What else do you have for us?
I have an original composition of mine which I would like to play, and it doesn't have a title yet, but it was inspired by a concert I saw about, I think, a bit more than a year ago. There was this festival of the Ruimte, which took place at Sexyland over there at next to the water.
Yeah.
And
there's some construction work going on in front of us, so if you hear some noise.
Amazing. And I saw a lady play named she was Horse Dabde from Iran, and she played a couple of string instruments. And I was very fascinated by the way she played, because, I mean, of course, I also play a string instrument, but it felt like the approach to a string instrument was much different than the one that I was used to. Because let's say I'm educated in like in a sort of Western tradition. I studied at the jazz department here in Amsterdam. And we have, with string instruments, we have more of a sort of chordal approach, where we tend to, a lot of the time, stick within one position and move, switch between strings. But what I saw her do was, it seemed like she wasn't switching strings that much, but she would play up and down the same string. And I mean, I knew about that. That's of course possible because you can play melodies on one single string.
It's very versatile.
It's just like, it's literally like you're going in a different dimension, or like a different direction, let's say, or it's on a different axis, and it does create a different kind of way of playing. Although you can say, well, but you could play the same melody both ways, and they're the same notes, so what does it matter? But the fact, especially if you leave another string resonating, it really creates a different way of playing melodies. It has a different feeling. If you play a melody, you're just sticking to one string.
Cool.
So I wrote this composition in which, well, it's not like I'd stick to one string, but there are a couple of passages where I don't switch between strings that much. And I was trying to figure out on my own way how to apply that technique to the bass.
Cool.
So it has some inspiration from that. It has also some inspiration from my. I mean, for a long time also I've had a large love and appreciation for Indian classical music. So I took some inspiration from that tradition as well. And there's even some little fragment of Bach sneaked in there.
Let's see if we can find it.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can find a little Bach. Okay, Azubike Onwuka, Untitled. Wow. Um, you can really, really hear the influence of Indian classical music as well. I would
Thanks.
almost want to listen to this on a sitar or something.
Oh well, too bad I don't have one or know how to play one.
Would have been very cool, right? I can't hear myself. I can hear myself now. Perfect. Wow, this was amazing. We have 4 minutes left, but I think it won't be a huge problem if we go a bit over 1 hour. Look at the big boss Ozzy now. He says it's okay. So do you have another piece for us you want to play for us?
Yeah, sure.
Amazing.
Yeah, this is another original composition of mine, which is it was what can I say about it? It was written in the winter of, let's see, between 2020 and 2021. And I would like to dedicate it to all the people who are going through a difficult period of life or difficult times. Yeah, I would like it to inspire the thought or the knowledge within them that there is always hope, how dark times or the situation might seem. I would like to leave on that note,
Beautiful.
to give a sense of hope.
I just want to say now already, thank you for being a guest at the
Thanks
Dawn
for having me.
Chorus. It was a true pleasure.
Likewise.
Thank you for enlightening us musically, for starting our day on this. I couldn't imagine a better way.
I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, the Dawn Chorus, it's a fact. Episode 6, we go out with a bang. Beautiful message. And let's listen to your last piece. Thank you everybody for listening. Thank you Ozzy for assisting. Thank you Azubike for playing these wonderful tunes. And thanks TNP for making this happen.